You know, back when I was 19 years old, I was given the best piece of advice that I've ever received. I was told, Daryl, when you stop fighting, the fighting stops. Let's talk about that. Welcome to When I Stop Fighting, the podcast. My name is Daryl Dittmer. Today I'm joined by Rodd Duff. Rodd is the creator and host of Insights and Straight Talk podcast, which he and I were on, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and I was completely enthralled with our discussion, and we got a lot of questions, and I know Rodd could relate to many of the things that I was talking about, which I think was very, very cool.
100%.
And I wanted Rodd to come on and share a little bit about Rodd's story. And you know, one of the things I want to mention about Rodd, which I think is great, and I'm similar, but Rodd he speaks the language of everyday Americans, and he's a proponent of the great American working class and middle class, which I think is a great thing. And to me, that brings up Midwest, you know, which is where I'm originally from, the Detroit area, and you're around the Chicago area. So welcome, Rodd. I'm looking forward to a great conversation and a great chat.
Yeah, me too. I mean, you know, just going back to what you were saying about when our roles were reversed, the conversation was I'm going to use the word stimulating. It was informing. It was you know, being able to see the journey that there's different journeys, right? You I'm sure your viewers know all your background and that, and it's very similar to mine. Where you're a brother from another mother, so to speak. So, boy, where do you want? I mean, do you want me to kind of go through or guide me?
I'd love to. My story, which everybody knows my story, at least, you know, people that have listened thus far, but you know, my story is one of addiction and dysfunction and lying and cheating and stealing and wrecking things and crime and all that sort of exciting stuff that many of us engage in as we grow up. And you know, and then it's about sobriety, and it's about honesty with myself. And you know, the name of your podcast, right? Insight. What am I looking at inside here? And so that's my story, and that evolves into my business life. It evolves into feeling, you know, just a sense of freedom, right, these days, and great relationships, and just, you know, the evolvement of us. And I know you related to my story, and I would love to just hear your story.
My story?
We'll take it.
All right. You son of a gunner.
I know, man. I'm sorry.
We went in. I've got a long, I mean, there's deep and wide caverns of my story, like you, which started back when I was born, but back in high school, same sort of things. I lived in Huntington Beach. I lived on the beach. My science class, you could hear the waves crash, and I used to go surfing and all that stuff. But then I got into the school parties, and then I moved out of the house from my mom when I was still a senior in high school. So, you know, then I wrote my own, you know, I'm sick today kind of return slip, and you know, I still passed really well, but I started just being I started becoming not honest. I started becoming not authentic. You know, we talk about these things, mental illness, and we'll get deeper into that subject, if you don't mind. Mental illness usually comes about, and addictions and so forth, from trauma when you were a child, you know, and that's not a shocking fact, but what goes with that is then you're trying to get out of your own head. So you start looking for ways to not be in your own head all day. And you don't even necessarily know what it is, but as I was growing up, and then I started into my career, I didn't have any, believe it or not, I used to be in Hollywood, and I was in the theater and doing some things like that. But I was so insecure, I couldn't continue on. So I took the safe route and went to work. That's when I picked up the name JR. That's the mask, right? So I was not ashamed. I didn't feel that Rodd Duff was good enough for the world.
At that time, Rodd, were you drinking? Were you drugging? Were you doing any of that stuff, or was it just sort of that internal nightmare going on, which I can very much relate to?
So, yes, I mean, I've been doing that since I was young, all the way through high school, college, on and off. I mean, it's not something for me that's, well, don't ever repeat this to any AA people or anything, but it's not for me. It's not an addiction. It's a tool. I know that's a cop out. I get it. And I know that's not really the thing, but it's to be able to sleep at night. I'd pop a couple, and then coming into out of high school into college, my sister's husband turned me on to this little known thing, crank. And oh my God, that was devastating. I mean, looking back, it was devastating. And so yeah, I've done basically everything except for hallucinogenics, except for mushrooms. And so all of those things are me. We are the sum of all of our experiences and everything to today. Tomorrow will be a little bit different. So I started out. It has to be, I haven't even thought about this before. It started out, through high school all the way through. I mean, I haven't been sober, very much over time. And that wears on you. And then I had a mental break all the way up to, I'm kind of skipping around here. I hope you don't mind.
That's fine. No.
I had so that mask, right? And producer Barbie, she literally saved my life. You talk about being honest. That mask was carried on through me throughout. When I was in high school, I was a jock, and so I could, be that is all cool, no big deal. But going out into the world, I had to communicate. I had to be able to effectively do the job and career so I could continue, just work, right? And that's when I started to get compartmentalized and be able to hide those feelings behind the mask. And then in May last year, so a year ago, May 6th, the day after Cinco de Mayo, producer Barbie and I, 2 different bedrooms, but we're at this show in Miami, and I don't know what happened. I just, just everything, I collapsed. I broke down. I got to a point where I couldn't leave my place to go to work for like a couple of weeks. I had to, and she helped me get through that first part and into therapy and start seeing somebody that can figure me out, help me figure myself out.
Right.
And so the journey's been getting better. My life's totally different since May. I started the. Okay, here's another thing. I started this the Insights in Straight Talk because I wrote a book, and I wrote a book which I started to query, and then this podcast freaking took off, so I haven't been able to get back to the book. I'm actually going to update some of the marketing. It's a nonfiction, so it's a book. You don't finish the book; you do a book proposal, right, to attract agents and publishers. So now I get to go back and rewrite that because I've actually got somewhat of a platform. But
what's the title of the book, Ron?
May I ask? Happened when I was in my 50s.
What was that?
How open are you to words?
Let's have it.
What the fuck happened to me when I was in my 50s?
Oh, all right. Yeah, I like
what the fuck happened when I was in my 50s? It's on my the description of it's on my website, roddduff.com. But sorry, little plug there. Stole a little plug in there. Yeah. So that book started out, it didn't end up this way. This podcast is based on that chapter for chapter. And it goes through all the issues that the great American middle class deal with on a regular basis. And it started out because of, this is back last year. So we're getting into all administration changing and, all the stuff happening out. And it was, after I came out a little bit, I always need to write to be able to clear some things out. It's now this is being able to talk. I used to never talk about myself. I became I think I'm pretty good at podcasts because
you are.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Because the cover I used to be safe for a while is anytime somebody asks me. So I am very good at asking questions. And the reason I'm very good at asking questions is because I don't want anybody to ask me questions about myself. So thanks a lot, Daryl, little shithead.
My bad, man. Sorry about that. You should have told me that before.
No, hell no. I got to do this. This is, okay. This is really, it's still part of my recovery, I mean, well, it's still the main force of my recovery because I'm now being authentic. You use the word truthful, and, authentic to me is something that is a life I never knew. Honestly, I mean, I knew me, but as I have gone back to people like family and that in the past and kind of not ever not connected, but really reconnect and tell the story to them. I thought it was always one way in the world, and son of a bitch, everybody else saw something totally different. Right. And now being authentic is a lift because it's energy, and I'm not pretending to be anybody. I'm actually me, and that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
That's the coolest thing, and thank you for saying that because, I got sober 40 freaking years ago, and
good dude, man.
So I did. I've been doing life ever since, but I've been exploring, and I've been like, what's going on, and what's going on in here, and I've been looking at all that stuff, and I kind of come out, writing my books and my podcast and all that sort of stuff, and so I come out and I start hearing like the new lingo, and I'm like, and everybody's talking about trauma, complex trauma, authentic, whatever, dysregulated, all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, what does all this shit mean? I don't know what it means. But I think I'm getting a handle on authentic, and it's as simple as being who and what I am at any given moment, whatever that is, which is a really cool thing. So So this
It's
is authenticity for, for both of us.
yeah.
And that's what it's about. Like, you peel away all that crap, and all that, the masks and all the things, and it's like, oh wow, here's Daryl and here's Rodd, and they can just have a conversation about who they are and what they are, right?
Yeah, I before now, I wouldn't we wouldn't be having this. I mean, I was asked to be guests earlier on because that's where I was going to go, and I thought, man, I don't know. So I started with the podcast and realized who that was further induction or indoctrination into being authentic. You can't go in front of 1,000 people and it's a different vibe that you're sending out. I'm sending out a different vibe than that's a 60s flower children word, but it's also coming back, and it means a lot because
Yeah.
when you enter somebody's space, I'm going to use a lot of the woke kind of words, that have kind of become popular. But when you enter somebody's space, you need to be able to you need to have a vibe that equals and improves their space, because what you're sending out is literally, not vibe, is literally waves. We as a human body have energy, and we let some of that energy off. Just I mean, the human brain can power a small city for like a week or something with the
Lord, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I don't think mine
Yeah,
could.
booming.
I'm thinking like a couple of light bulbs,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
in a
I
shed.
tried it once. I got a lamp to. That was about it. Obviously, I'm screwing with you, but
That's
yeah, I
interesting.
mean, yeah, it is very interesting. And it, I'm a. There's an old saying. I think we talked about it on when you were on the show. Sorry. There's an old saying that a poet wrote, Walt Whitman, I think, or somebody like that. I've seen it on the show before, in this great example of be curious, not judgmental. And fortunately, I mean, for me, and I think for you, because you wouldn't be doing this, and you said it earlier, what's this about? What's this about? And people aren't about that enough. They're more judgmental. You don't learn anything when you're judgmental. If you're curious, you learn stuff. And so that kind of thing about me also helped to, because if I wasn't curious, I really shouldn't be here. I mean, I should, but
there's another saying that I love, and it's an old Stoic one, but and it hits right exactly what you're saying, Rodd, which is, it is impossible to learn. It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows, and which is a really cool one, and I love that, because it also speaks to the authenticity that we're talking about now, right? But I can't, I may not like some stuff that I see or hear or whatever it is, in any realm in life.
Absolutely.
But it's not any of my freaking business. It's, people are where they are, and people are giving off what they're giving off, and they're, as open as they're going to be, and they're as understanding of things as they are at any given moment, no matter how frustrated I am about it. It's just what it is, right? It's just what it is. And that's part of me being authentic. And,
absolutely.
And I got to get better at it over time too, because I can, there's times when I can just be like, you know what, why don't they just get their shit together? And I think that, and because I had to, if I didn't do that, I would probably be, I don't think I'd be alive, honestly, the way I was going. But I needed to do that. And sometimes I'm like, when when is that going to happen for this person? You know, like when are they going to get that lesson where it's like, okay, I'm ready to look differently at this whole life thing. You know, I mean, do you experience that as well?
Yes, and I was just going to follow up question back to you. I can't help myself sometimes.
Fine.
When you say that, where are these everyday life, or people in a program, or what do you, or just people in general? When you see something, it starts to irk you.
It's interesting, and that's a great question. It has to do
Thank you.
with people in my, nuclear
Circle.
family, people that that I
Ah.
grew up with. I've got a sibling that I really don't communicate with anymore. And it has to do with, oh, here's another one for these days, boundaries. That we never talked
That's,
about, back when I
yep.
was coming up. And what all this stuff is the same. Like they just ascribe new words to all the same stuff. Like
They
boundaries,
feel better words.
right? Boundaries used, and then when you put a new word in it, you're like, oh, that's new. Well, you know what? Boundaries have been around for a long time. 40 years ago, we used to call it, you teach people how to treat you. And
Yeah.
and so that's what happened with my sibling that I don't speak with anymore. I was taken advantage of many times. And I just said, you know what? That's it. I'm done. But that doesn't keep me from wanting the best for that person.
Exactly.
I,
Yeah.
I want that person, my sibling, to have a wonderful life. And to me, it's frustrating because I don't think that person is having a wonderful life. I really, it's always fighting, and it's always angst, and it's taking advantage of people, and it's, that kind of stuff. And when is the light bulb going to go off? I want the light bulb to go off.
Rough age. How old's your sibling? Rough. Teens,
50,
20s, 30,
50.
50. All right. Yeah, that's
It's getting a
tough.
little, they're on the back nine,
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
which is okay.
Yeah, no, it's all good, but it's interesting how, if people don't want, I mean, we all have family, being addicted and being affected and being what we are, and there's people that don't want to. They have to want. This.
100%.
They have to want to.
100%.
Otherwise, because I've been down that road with other people's relatives that, I've been down that road. I'm like, dude, and if you don't want to, you're not going to. And that's
100%.
it. There's willpower involved.
100%. And
Yeah.
my only caveat to that is, and that's fine, live however you want, do your thing, whatever. Just don't drag me into the quagmire, because I'm not going in the quagmire.
Absolutely.
I was on a podcast recently, and we were talking about it. And something that popped into my mind was, I look at my life as this bowl of soup, and so what are the ingredients that I'm putting in that bowl, and who are the people that I'm allowing in my bowl of soup, and what are the things that I'm doing? Honesty and trying to be unselfish and trying to be, just a solid human for the planet. And so who gets in the bowl of soup, with me? And it's not that many people, and there's a lot of people around the bowl of soup, and there's, the whole world is outside that little bowl of soup, but that's mine, and that's what that's who I'm closest to, and who I'm good for. And I'm going to shut up in a minute, because this is your podcast, man, but sorry, but it's who am I good for, and it's not as much who is good for me, but if somebody's taking advantage of me, I'm not going to be like, oh, please hit me on the other cheek. Please do it again. Keep wiping your feet on my face. I won't do that. So I find myself, I'm not good for them. if that's going on either. So it's, it's there has to be a separation.
It's funny because you talk about a bowl of soup. What's in that? You and your circle, and as you evolve through life and different things, right? Primarily evolving from being sick or being affected, being that, your bowl of soup starts to change as you do. And siblings are a different story, obviously, but it's amazing how that starts to happen. It's because you attract people that you're worthy of. Is that right?
Yes.
You're worthy of them, because the biggest thing that I've learned, and by the way, your siblings 50, I not take advantage necessarily of people. Well, okay, yeah, but I'm 63 now, so give him another 12 years or so. He might come out of it. This is a new experience for me. It's very exciting, and in the beginning, it was extremely scary because, and producer Barbie helped me. We've been together like 20 years, and it was very scary because I didn't know how to be that. And the writing kind of centers things for me. I mean, I've written like 2,000 poems. One of them's called "Who Do I Love First?" and it's about loving yourself.
Wow,
You
cool.
got to be able to get there, because you can't give what you don't have. You can't teach what you don't know. That all stuff blending into what you're talking about is wives' tales. They say, stories that have been around forever, that supposedly work or good advice. They are. I mean, the things that this isn't new for the human experience to be striving to be more than you are, right? And it's also not. Narcotics are part of nature to a degree, and we're part of nature, and sometimes we dive down the wrong road, and then hopefully find a way out, right? But that's not for everybody.
No, it's not. And I agree 100%, which is, if as long as, the bowl of soup for me is what matters. What's in my, if I had a bunch of, really difficult, horrible human beings in my bowl of soup, that wouldn't be, that might be where I am too in my life, and
that's the only way they can be.
Right. So
that vibe thing, right?
And that's completely cool, and everybody can have their own bowl of soup, and they can be in whomever's bowl of soup they want to be in, and this and that, and that's completely cool. I'm my only thing is, look, if you want help someday, for anybody, anybody on this planet, if you want help, I will help you. And I will absolutely do my best to help you. But I also have learned over the years, over many, many years, and with this sibling in particular, that I can't change anyone who's not willing to go down the road of change. And because change sucks, and
it takes effort too.
It takes a huge amount of effort. And
it does.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's all I ask of anyone is, if we're going to interact, let's just do it. And I hate to say on an authentic basis, but that's kind of what I mean. Like, let's just be us, be whatever you are. And then we can decide if we want to be in each other's company or soup or the rest of their life, or, is it 5 minutes? Is it 30 seconds? Is it 20 years? I don't know what it is, but that sorts itself out, right? It sorts itself out 100%. Fairly quickly.
100%, because, again, we're repeating a lot of similar words here. We're just going to keep going on this, I guess. Hey, by the way, your shirt's spelled wrong. It should be CHI. Wrong animal too. But
Wrong animal.
it is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
Some people just don't want to change. No, I'm kidding. That what you just said, that conversation, that mental fluidity, that thought flow, let's call that. I'm trying to think of other words because we're getting tired on these 3 words that we keep using all the time.
I'm kind of digging them.
They work. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You mentioned will they be, in the soup for 20 seconds, 2 days, and it'll sort itself out. Absolutely. Back to the energy. You can like people. Well, we do like people, but they're not necessarily going to be our bowl ingredients, our soup.
Cup of tea.
For a little bit of tea there. Yeah. What kind of tea are you drinking?
Matcha, green tea. It's got some ginger matcha in it too. Yeah, it keeps me going, man.
And very healthy, there's all sorts of things that we do that we shouldn't, right? But your soup will change, like my soup's changed, and because it works itself out. Literally, it's not a thought process. You described a thought process, but it's just that brain of yours and the heart and everything else working together to see if where this goes, and how important it is for you or them to move forward if that's something. So it's really interesting. Yeah, we talk about being curious, and you're the same way. It's interesting how much you can discover in the world, because we were talking about the bio earlier, and you said thought. What was the word you used? I know it's on my bio, but I forget. You remember what you said?
Oh, Rodd isn't afraid to challenge conventional thinking.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about how many people are actually thinking. There's so much stuff in the world that is here for us to continually grow and drive, but a great amount of percentage of people, they either don't recognize that, or they're too busy working to move forward in their own space. You look at marriages, my God, I think it's up to 60% now get divorced.
Is it really?
Yeah. It was 50 back 10 years ago or something like that. I think forever it was about 50. Now it's right over 60%. And here's why: because we pick a mate. First of all, you got to be worthy. You got to make sure you're worthy to be that mate, right? We go out, we prepare more for a vacation than we do a wedding sometimes, and you go see
or
the priest. Exactly. You do not. There's not the desire to be a better. I go out and try and be the best person I can for customers and this and that. But it's less when you're 10 years into the, oh, hi, honey, down the road, because we as human beings, as a society, probably never have, I would imagine, never been curious enough to how can I uplift, not be the knight in shining armor, but how can my experience be on your experience and make your experience better? And again, we're back to that. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think it's an attraction thing again. Like we
physical,
like attracts like, right? Like, yeah. So when I think back of when I was, and I didn't get married till later, in my life. So I talked to somebody years and years ago, probably when I was just starting to get sober, and about relationships and blah blah blah, and they're like, you know what? To find the right person, you have to be the right person.
You said it way better. Excellent.
If I'm here, I'm going to meet the person that's here. If I've leveled up a little bit, I'm going to meet the person that's here, and I might meet someone, we might meet someone at different levels, but that's where it's like the 20 seconds, the 5 minutes, the 2 dates, whatever. Right. It's
right.
But so improving me is what improves, who shows up in my life and who stays. And I think that's just crucial, that attraction part of it. And yeah, not the physical attraction, but the attraction of who I am. Right. And I'm sure you've seen that. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, no. And you exposed me for being shallow with the physical attraction.
Well, there is nothing
that's in there. That's in there.
Nothing wrong with that. But, I mean, but you find out, right? You find out.
Yeah, and 60% of the people, right? 60%. Oh, what would that be? I don't know. 60% of marriages. I don't know how many people are married here. Probably what? There's 300 some million people in America, not much less the world. How many people aren't preparing? I mean, you're making a great point here. I mean, absolutely a great point, because you have to prepare your life for being that. You have to be curious. You have to grow. And keep going. And you talked about it. You get attracted because you guys are here, and then somehow somebody maybe makes more, and continues to grow, and then they start to go the other way. So, if you're valuable enough to be a mate, then that should keep going. You should keep growing. I mean, if you're married 20 years, you're not the same person as you were then, but how did you change? How did you change as well as your mate? That's the thing you're talking about. You got to be growing, knowing, and evolving yourself.
For sure. And it's interesting because it's so easy and quote unquote comfortable to look out at the world and say, oh, this is screwed up, and that's screwed up, and that's screwed up, and they're screwed up, and da, 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 da. And it's like, and the title of your podcast, Insight, right, means what's going on in here.
Yeah.
What's going on in here. And so do I have my little grubby little fingers out trying to change everything in the world, or am I actually working on me? Or in addition to that, on my relationship, one of my sons, he and I have talked about relationship stuff. And I said, dude, values, if you continue to move yourself forward and your values and you get an idea of what makes sense for you and what works for you and principle-based living, all that kind of thing. I said, then you're going to attract that person, and you guys may not be ready for each other, but at least you're attracting someone who's probably similar. And if you're just looking at it like, oh, we both like horror movies, well, that's not going to make a marriage, man.
Right. That's what happens though, right? I mean, how are we similar, and you go on even dating apps, let's say, and it says likes in I like walking, I like hiking, and that's the thing that's supposed to bring people together. Excellent point. I mean, that's not the thing you should be making sure you're in the same connection with the mate. But it seems to be, man, I never really thought about that. Seems to be backwards, isn't it?
It is 100%. I agree. But that's, there's all this stuff outside of us that we can see and we can touch, and we're like, oh, that's cool. You think that's cool too? Yeah, I think that's cool. Oh my God, we're meant to be together.
Just like cavemen, right?
Right, but it's, it's the stuff inside you
That's
can't
funny.
see. The stuff inside you can't, like that's all stuff I have to do myself and I have to work on, and all these experiences out here force me to go inside. But am I listening? Am I listening to all those cues that tell me I got to go in here and, shovel out some of the manure and clean out some of the attic and all that sort of stuff? And am I listening, or am I still thinking about, oh, well, I like horror movies and so does she. So everything's cool. And I think that's, and anyway, I think we beat
too
that one to
often
death.
the case. Yeah.
You know what comes to mind
but
for me right
true.
now, Rodd, is what was the impetus for you writing your book? What was going on in here that made you want to write a nonfiction book like that?
I've actually written 3, never even tried to send them out, but I've got 3 different books. It's for me, it's the addiction that is most helpful. It's the thing I run to writing, because I can flush out some things to hear. I don't have to tell anybody else that, and I hide it in this, but I've actually been it's therapeutic. So, and what was happening was I had that mental breakdown. Literally, my compartmentalized, and I wrote a poem about this. It actually came out pretty good. But those things that are compartmentalized, as Barbie explained it to me, it got more and more and more, and it just it all blew out. And so, and Barbie said something to me once, a little bit into the past. She said, because I was scared to death. I mean, after the coming out and all, I was scared to death, because I thought, oh my God, I'm different, which now 2 different differences. At that time, I was afraid that I was never going to be able to talk to anybody, never be able to, I'd be afraid to see people, like total paranoia, I mean, I have a couple of things going on in there, and a little medicine, a little of this, a little of that. Kind of stopped taking it, but working my way through. But Barbie told me, you'll get back to, you'll come out of this. And I didn't believe, I couldn't, how am I going to come out of this? So having people around you, like you said, your bowl of soup, I shouldn't still be attracted. Well, now I should, but for a while there, I shouldn't have been attracting Barbie, but she's just stubborn as hell. Thank God. And, she stuck around. I mean, she literally moved from California out to here in Illinois because I moved. I mean, I was going back and forth for work. I had to be out here because I was in machinery sales. And I've been back and forth to Illinois, living wise, several times. My dad was in the Marines. So, Foster Street, the training center, we'd go back and forth. Great Lakes, all that stuff. Great Lakes Academy, Marines. But anyway, that was a fun time. But about almost a year now, she had her first grandbaby, and so her and I started talking, because she was actually my co-host, which she hated, but I always talked her into it. It's crazy. One of the most beautiful, intelligent, vivacious women, and she loves pictures, selfies. She'll do all day long, but she doesn't like to be in front of the camera at all, which shocks me. But she taught me I'm gonna come out of this. It's gonna be okay. I mean, I was in the very beginning. She'd bring over like salts for like the bath and lilac. No, not lilac, but one of those flower smells in a mister, because they calm all lavender that down. Lavender. Yeah. Thank you. So, if if she wasn't here, or if she wasn't in my life or still in my life between, a couple of years ago until now, this is after I had a motorcycle accident, I had a stroke, and then a mental breakdown. I was in the hospital for 3 months, and then I had to learn how to walk. Walk. Yeah. I had to learn how to put on a shirt. I've got which one? On my left side, every bone was broken. I've got a scar that looks like it goes from my here all the way down to my back, thing back here. It's no big deal, but it looks like a shark bit me. All these ribs were broken into pieces. Like if you when one of my shoulder doctors coming out of this pulled up the x-ray of me, and he goes, my God, I've never seen so much, because every rib has like 3 or 4 metal plates putting it back together, to rebuild and don't say $6 million man.
You must be rough in the airports, man.
Yeah. It's no, actually I'm not. No, I that surprised me. I don't know why, but it doesn't. I was actually, the first time I went through after this, I was kind of interested. I was like, I wonder if I'm going to show up, because my mom, she had knee surgery, and every time she went through one, it showed up. It's maybe different metals or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I have a fake knee.
I don't.
Yeah, that's
a
lot
have a
of
fake
stuff,
knee?
man. I have a fake. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I had a knee replacement, and it goes off.
My sister just did that. Oh, it does?
Oh, yeah.
Titanium. It's titanium, I assume, right?
It's supposedly maybe I got the cheap one. I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
They shipped it over from overseas.
One. We'll see. It's interesting. The producer Barbie thing, I think that's just a wonderful thing, but it sounds as though, and correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the things that I needed to do, and that I've tried to do my whole life, I'm probably one of those kids, and probably still am, where they would say, oh, he's got ADHD or OCD or something, like I was just off the rails most of the time, and high energy and just darting around, and they probably would have put a leash on me and drug me up and all, like, hey, slow this dude down,
turn his motor down, man, he's spinning.
Right, but one of the things I had to do, and it sounds like producer Barbie is helping with this part, but I had to learn how to meditate and do breath work and write. I mean, writing was huge for me, long before I decided to write a book, but I would just take a yellow legal pad and I would just write, because I had to get all this stuff that was here and all this stuff that was here out. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I could get it out, and then I could at least look at it, and it would start to make a little sense. I was like, oh, okay. All right. Anyway, hugely therapeutic, but it sounds like the work, and I love the lavender stuff and whatever. And just, I think one of the biggest maladies these days is we get so caught up in here, and we get so jumbled up in here, and we just need to have some quiet, and we just need to have some slowing down of that madness. And I can relate. I can absolutely relate to that.
Yeah, it's I don't know if the human condition has always had this, it's fight or flight syndromes, that goes back to the caveman days and all that stuff. But it's and I'm guilty of the same thing. It's interesting how many people don't, they just kind of pass through life more or less, and not really try and attack it, go after it. There's more, is it now that we need that quiet because of the noise of modern society, And because let's face it, I mean, my God, my Aunt Nora died at 104 years old. And when she was born, they were going across in a covered wagon to the West Coast. Seattle is where, Washington is where that part of my family comes from. And I was born in Washington. But before she died, she saw the first space shuttle go up.
Oh, wow.
That's
cool.
how fast.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, very cool. In that 100 years, woof.
Yeah.
As our bodies, is our things getting beaten up by all this that's coming at us, and it's going to be worse with AI. You know, I mean, my God, I remember. Sorry, I'm gonna steal the mic for a minute here.
Go, man, go.
I remember in the 80s, 90s, that kind of time frame when people my age, you know, the elderly, the aging Americans in their silver or their golden years, you know, those old sayings. In that period of time, there was a huge percentage of depression in that whole generation because they were cut off from the rest of the world. The world was operating, and they were like in the shadow with a flash, or in a dark room with a barely lit flashlight, trying to figure out. And it's embarrassing. It's frustrating. And you know, your kids, it's not like you're cut off, but you are cut off. And you feel, I mean, you've always been the elder. Now something's happening and you have no clue. You have no clue. So you're in an uncomfortable situation. That is nothing compared to what's coming with AI. That is absolutely nothing. It's coming at lightning speed, and it is what is going to be. I mean, just think how that affected the American society when it was just, hey, now we have a computer on our desk at home and at work, or this or that, and then it went from dial-up internet, and then wow, look at this, we can do all this stuff. Letters are hardly being written anymore, you know, that kind of thing, and emails are the thing. Everybody was doing it that way, and they weren't. This is different. This is going to be an entire life stage. I had an interview yesterday, or a discussion yesterday with day before yesterday with a guy that's he taught it, still does teach, but at University of Michigan. Hats off. Okay, fine. I know, I saw it earlier. I saw it. Absolutely.
It's a little beat up.
But he that's a good thing. He teaches, you know, AI. He used to be like a global supply chain person. And he started seeing how AI was working into stuff. And he kind of at over time, he literally changed into this, and he's studying what's happening. And I made a point, and I was kind of shocked he agreed with me. But I said, you know, if let's say 30% of the population, I don't know how the ages break down, but if 30% of the population checks out of life or can't be part of this, what is that going to do to our economy? I mean, seriously, I mean, we're at right now, we're on a precipice. We're on the edge of a whole new world, literally. If 30, yeah. I don't know, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it appears. I you know, I don't know enough about it. And I'm one of those, you know, I've used AI for a few things, but I think the overall point of the noise of life and the noise that, you know, it used to be probably. Is
it now?
What's that?
Is it now? Is that what you're saying? Going back to the beginning of this conversation, are you thinking that, remember I originally asked, is it ingrained upon us since the caveman days, or is society doing that? Like, has there always been noise? Because there's a lot of mental health in the world. I mean, at least here that I know of, there's more than other. That noise that you're talking about is because the world is going by so fast, and we need to sometimes just check
I
out.
think so. I think so. I think it's, you think about back in the day, I don't know what they did in the caves, other than like, hey man, we better go take down this mastodon because we only have like 70,000 pounds of it left and we got to feed people. And so they're
Yep.
sitting around the fire and, okay, what's the best way, sharpen our sticks, whatever. I don't think they had all the stuff going on up here that we have now, and it's slowly been getting more and more like that. I mean, I'm sure they had relationship stuff. I'm sure they had, whatever, or maybe not. Maybe you just drag the person into the cave and that's what you do. I don't know, if they even worried about it, but
yeah.
Or if there was such a thing as a relationship, or was it just having kids, like, let's just, just got to procreate.
Repopulate. Yeah.
Now, like to have a relationship, you gotta, you got to think about everything that's going on with you, but then you also got to think about everything that's going on with the other person. And am I infringing on their boundaries? And am I regulating myself? Do I have to help regulate them? Blah, blah, blah. It's just all the stuff that we've, I think, in many ways created, in addition to, I'm always looking at my phone. I have very few notifications on my phone. I don't want to be strapped to that thing all the time. But those things, I think, are, and this is a personal opinion, but I think phones and selfies and paying attention to myself constantly, and like in maybe not in a healthy way, is where we've completely gone wrong. It's too much. We don't think about other people as much as we think about ourselves and how we look on social media and how many likes do I have and all that sort of stuff. It's like life has changed from what what the Stoics and the Bible and whatever, you could say the Quran or anything. Like, it used to be like, okay, here's how you do life. And people would be like, oh, okay, maybe I need to think about that. But I don't think anybody thinks about how to do life anymore. It's how do I do selfies, and how do I get likes, and how do I look out in the world, as opposed to how am I out in the world? Does that make sense?
Absolutely, 100%. And to add to the front part of that, when you talk about relationships and so forth with the younger, they're not entering into relationships, the younger generation, and guys are afraid of women now because they've grown up having to be ashamed of being a man. Toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
So you're right. We're doing all sorts of stuff to ourselves. I think that's getting better now, but that we have done nothing but put ourselves in little boxes because it's easier to control us that way. Maybe that's part of it, but then we're feeding into it, being the thing that you just described. And, that's a horrible recipe. You're right. Okay. That's connecting some dots there, dude. I got to talk to you more. You're pretty freaking smart, man. No, really, I'm joshing with you, but really that's an interesting concept about, not concept. That's an interesting fact. And what you said about those things, this is your own personal opinion. There's studies behind it. You're freaking dead on. Absolutely dead on. Depression in kids, not being able to communicate to each other because it's always been by, dots and dashes.
Right.
All the stuff is coming forward, and man, the sky isn't falling, but you know what? We're trying to make it. Like you said, we do it to ourselves in this society, and I think people are just now starting to catch up and say what you're saying, because it's true. It's like, hold on, I've been this. like me, like JR, I've been that. We gotta step back and we gotta do something different. And now, they even in Vermont, maybe it's Arkansas, they don't allow phones in schools anymore. You're not allowed to bring your phone in. And one of the surprising, you still got a few minutes. I know we're right there.
Yeah.
When do we got to wrap up?
Couple minutes. Yeah, let's go. Couple minutes.
All right. So they and you know what's happening? The whole vibe is changing in the schools. Like people are talking to each other and this and that. And at home, they're not watching their phones while they're at the dinner table with the rest of the family as much. I mean, I'm sure there's all these things, and I don't know the numbers exact and all that, but look it up. It's a real thing, dude. I mean, that's a really, really real thing.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. And I think it's very cool. I can't imagine. I'm assuming my dad was in the Navy. He was a pretty strict dude. I'm assuming your dad being a Marine, probably,
100%.
you pull your phone out at the table. That
didn't happen.
Go over well. That's not going to go over well.
Hell no. And sometimes it was preceded by a on the table. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, that's not going to work out for you very well. But
so you stop doing that pretty quick.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And you learn. We will talk further after this, but I one of the things I wanted to just touch on and this what we've been talking about and the premise of my podcast is when I stop fighting, right? And the world continues to give us more things to fight, but it also gives us more things to fight within ourselves, more things to overcome, more things to hurdles to get over to get to ourselves. And I think that's a really important component. We don't talk about that necessarily that much on this podcast, but I think it's a huge important point that we're getting more things to fight, especially within ourselves, and that takes us away from peace. It takes us away from tranquility. It takes us away from sort of going with the flow of life, and because we're just getting bombarded.
And that's an interesting point, because what you're saying, this has been building and building, right? And you're fighting. Society is giving you more and more and more and more and more stuff to fight. And at the end of the day, we're still mammals. We're still animals, and we don't know what our capacities are in what we're talking about now, for sure. Technology and all that. We survived because we learned how to use tools. Now it's almost like the tools are using us, like you're saying, but it's starting to change. People are having this conversation. We should have a podcast together that, like you said, a series that talks this, because this is the crux. As you said it, I'm like, oh shit, this is where that's where it all starts. We got to talk about those things, because kids are going to hate their parents if they don't have the phone. Parents are afraid they can't get a hold of their kid. Did you have a cell phone as a kid in your class?
No,
your parents. Oh, the parents still knew. I can remember I had to be home by the time the porch light was on. That was the signal. Or my dad, he could. I mean, that was a whale call. You could hear it for a block. Oh shit! Hey guys, gotta go.
Yeah,
I'm out.
Yeah.
But that
troubles are brewing if I'm not on my way home right now. Yeah,
100%. But at the end of the day, what the hell are parents got to kind of sit back and think about some stuff here, because they're not helping the next generation get to the next level either. Like what you said.
We are going to talk more about this on your podcast, truly, because I would love to. I would really love to.
100%.
Yeah, because I mean, I have thoughts. I see things. I think about things. But all of this madness pushes me back into myself because
Yeah.
I can just get caught up in that tornado, man, and that's not a
So
great
true.
place for me to be. I got to stay away from the tornadoes to the extent that I can. But so, Rodd, let's wrap it up. Where do we find you? Where is your world? And I'll tell you, I love Rodd's podcast.
It's right here.
So listen closely, folks, and jump into that if you can.
Oh, thank you so much. We're growing a lot, as you know. That podcast, my insights started. Our first live stream was on Constitution Day, and I did that on purpose. I'm hoping that someday, down the road, that in history they go, oh shit, he did it on Constitution. Just a little interesting fact. But the podcast is on. I stream it to all social media, but basically start and branch out of YouTube. And YouTube at Rodd Duff 1939. My name. I don't see our names here. Do you see our name? If anybody sees that, my name is spelled RODD DUFF. A little funny story about that. I think my parents were screwing with me because my middle name is Dwayne, which I used to get teased in school about, don't pull the plug, I'm drowning. But the initials, RODD DUFF. And it's like, so the RODD DUFF is the podcast. We have a website and all those things are going on. That's pretty much it. We're almost at 8,000 subscribers now, just
Wow.
100 or so less. So
That's awesome.
And thank you. And every time that we do this, it's helping me. It's doing the things JR would never do, like
Right.
this, talk about myself. And then all that knowledge I have, all the experiences I've gained, it's great to be able to talk to people openly about conversations that matter, from politics to finance to health to mental health that we're talking about here. We do a lot of those. And then of course, AI, trying to teach people. So that's the world to me. That's the life, Kids are all out in the West Coast. So I'm even going to, because machinery, I'm landlocked. I sold and made machinery forever. And a couple of years ago, I started winding it down. So that's my story. I could talk on, me, I talk too much. So that's it, man. I appreciate this. This has been fabulous.
Yeah, it really has, Rodd. I've enjoyed it immensely, just like I enjoyed our conversation on your podcast. I know we're going to continue to do this,
100%, brother.
Yeah, and chat about things, and but thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I'll look forward to talking to you soon.
You got it, man. See you guys.
I'd like to take just a minute and make you aware of my books. My first book, When I Stopped Fighting: The Unexpected Joy of Getting My Head Out of My Ass, is best described by a recent review. If you're looking for a book that will make you feel like you can tackle anything, this is it. My second book, When You Stop Fighting: The Road You're On Is Your Own Ass Fault, was recently reviewed by someone saying, refreshingly free from self-help jargon, which I love. That was my intent. I feel like these books are doing a lot of good out there and helping a lot of people. So if you get a chance to check them out, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.